Yeah, good evening to all. Today discussion will be the physics and planning part of SRS and SBRT. So the hallmarks of radiosurgery start with the small target volume. The small target volume, which we can be able to treat the high dose per fraction with reducing the normal structure dose. For example, this is the one patient, trigeminal neuralgia case. Here you can see the 60 gray, which we are giving the therapy to the nerve, and the center of the nerve, we are able to achieve the 84 gray. And at the same time, we are reducing the dose to brainstem within 2.4 millimeter, and here we are reducing the dose Dmax of 15 gray. So the hallmarks is small target volume and the target irradiated to the very high doses, and the volume of normal tissue dose will be reduced. And the second part is sharply defined target. The sharply defined target is we can be able to give the very sharp margin or without margin. So in this case, if the margin is reduced, we can give the very high dose per fraction without worrying about the normal structures. So here if you are seeing the 40 gray dose given to the node, at the same time the 30 gray is going very closer to the 40 gray. And if you are seeing the 12 gray dose spillage, which is very minimal. So the hallmarks will start with the little or no extra margin. Generally, we are not giving any margin to the GTV or without unintentional underdosage of the target. Here, the target coverage, we are giving the very primary impact so that the target can adequately treat it because we are giving only gross disease. We are not underdosing the gross disease. So less surrounding normal tissues. So because the margin is less, so there is no normal structures with the high doses. So this patient, you can see the dose distribution. This is the high conformability dose. At the same time, you can able to spare the spinal cord. Here the 20 gray given to the target, and we are able to achieve the 8 gray to the spinal cord volumetrically. And it will give the steep dose gradient and reduces the treatment, and whatever we are giving the treatment volume is equal to target volume. In conventional fractionation, the margin has been taken quite large, so the treatment volume is quite high comparable to the target volume. But in SRS and SBRT, the treatment volume without margin is equal to the target volume. So coming to the critical structure exclusion, you can see this is the brain meningioma patients. So the target has been delineated with the very sharp so that the critical structures is excluded from the dose of irradiation. So in this case, we can limit the risk of radiation injury to the critical structures. So these are all the equipments which are used for the SRS and SBRT. So the gamma knife, which is quite a long time, we are practicing for cranial radiosurgery, and in Novartis with BrainLab, we are treating for cranial and extracranial radiosurgery. In Synergy Mission, and we are having the CyberKnife, which is dedicated to the SRS and SBRT. And where in TrueBeam and Versa HD, we are using for the SRS and SBRT with this modified linear configuration, because the conventional linear accelerator, which has the less mechanical accuracy, but we need a very high mechanical accuracy for SRS and SBRT. And recently developed MRI LINAC, which is used for the SBRT, which is giving the good results. And in the proton beam, we are using the SOBP for SRS and SBRT with the advantage of dose follow-up. So accurate delivery. How can we accurately deliver the dose? The mechanical accuracy. This is the primary parameter which is very important for SRS and SBRT. For example, in conventional radiation therapy, the mechanical isocenter of the machine is almost 1.5 to 2 mm. But in SRS and SBRT, we need a less than 1 mm for giving the very high dose, because the margin is less or nil. So in this situation, we can be able to give the very high dose. And the second point, The treatment time is quite long because we are giving high dose per fraction. So during that time, patient can be able to move, or we have to give very high immobilization. This one. And localization techniques is used for conventional radiotherapy. We can go for the monoimaging technology for delineating the target. But in SRS and SBRT, we need a different localization techniques with MRI, PET, or dynasty to delineate the target. Because if the 1 mm margin is missed, or 1 mm is missed in the gross tumor, then the dose gradient is much higher. So we are unable to treat the high. And the high precision, we need a high precision for delineating the target. So in this term, the high precision will give us the high dose to the tumor as well as sparing the normal structures. So intrafractional imaging is very important factor because we are doing the very high dose. During that time, patient is difficult to same position. So in that time, the intrafractional imaging, which is used for tracking the target or tracking the patient anatomy. And the motion management, which is used for the thoracic and abdominal malignancies. If the motion management is used, then we can reduce the margin and we can increase the dose to target, as well as we can reduce the normal structure. So the fiducial tracking, which is available for the motion management, and we can able to track the fiducial during the treatment. So what are all the SRS SBRT platforms? So the gamma knife, the 201 global sources convergence to the isosender, and the target localization method is stereotactic frame, and recently ICON mission has the CBCT platform. And the real-time correction is based on the reflective IR with the IR nose marker. It will surrogate of the target motion, and virtual X6D is used for tracking the movement. And conventional linear accelerator like Varian and Electa, they have improved the accuracy, mechanical Gandray under. So on this, Linac and which is used for both machines and MLCs, and VMAT is the technology which deliver the very high dose. So target localization based on the cone beam CT and orthogonal X-ray images are used, and implanted fiducials also used for the tracking the target. And the real-time correction is somewhat difficult in both the missions, and rotational correction is possible by using the 6D couch. And CyberKnife, which is dedicated to the SRS and SBRT, and it is on Linac and robotic arm. The robotic arm is the non-coplanar delivery path, and the variable aperture of the cones or MLC is used to treat the target. So the target localization method is orthogonal X-ray image based or implanted fiducials. So the real-time correction is based on the skull tracking or spine tracking or fiducial tracking. So fiducial is generally used for the abdominal and the prostate patients. So the advantage of this CyberKnife is it is a 6D correction, and the 6D correction is the continuous and it is automatic. So robotic arm and the machine, it will take care of the patient movement, it will track the target and it will deliver. And the tomotherapy, it is the helical delivery with the MLC, and it is megavoltage CT for target localization. So the mechanical accuracy. In mechanical accuracy, the gamma knife has the very high accuracy because of these are fixed beams with the 201 sources. So the accuracy is less than 0.5 mm. And the linear accelerator, so SRS SBRT capable Linac has the accuracy of 0.5 mm to 1.5 mm. In CyberKnife, the accuracy is less than 0.5 mm we can able to achieve. And in MRI Linac, the coincidence between the MRI and the MB isosender is less than 1.1 mm. In proton beam, we can able to achieve less than 1 mm. So these are all the important parameter when we are going for the SRS and SBRT with selective missions. So why the mechanical accuracy is very important in SRS SBRT? You can see this patient had a brain AVM, and we have planned for 22 gray in single fraction, and you can see the target in red color and the isodose in the green color. This is the planning system image, and if there is a 1 mm shift in the XYZ region, that means the translation error of 1 mm, then the isodose is shifted towards superiorly. So what is the impact on this? You can see the DBH. This is the without shift. We are able to deliver the 22 gray, almost more than the 90% target volume. But if you are changing the XYZ coordinates, that means the 1 mm shift in the patient position, then it will drastically change in the DVH. That means the target underdosage. The disadvantage is it will go to the normal brain, the 22 gray, and target is underdosed. So why the image, we can start from the image registration flow. So why multimodality imaging is very important in SRS and SBRT. You can see this is the one MRI and CT co-registration. Here you can see the image. You observe that the cochlea and brainstem are very close to the target. If you are seeing the big zooming this image, you can observe that there is a cochlea and brainstem in between the target within a mm. So the image registration, if you are going for the multimodality image registration, in the time you can be able to sharply define the target without critical structures overlapping. So if you can see here, this is the CCT with overlapping with the NCCT, and again we cannot able to exactly define the target volume in the bony window. So we have to use the multimodality imaging for high accurate target delineation. So here you can see this is the brainstem AVM patient. Here we have used the fusion of diagnosed CT with the planning CT. Here this AVM patient has brainstem AVM, which is less than a mm and which is closer to the brainstem. We have to give the very high dose to this area as well as to spare the brainstem. So if the registration is there is a problem of 0.5 mm, it will lead to the high dose to the brainstem because we are giving no margin here. And again, in CT, we are unable to delineate high accurately. So the imaging modality has to be carefully chosen, whether the MRI, PET CT, or Dyna CT, and the margin of the target has to be carefully validated for registering the images. So here again, you can see the spine patient. In the spine patient, we are delineating the GTV and target volume. And here, the spinal cord to the target is less than a mm. Again, we have to choose the corresponding modality and corresponding the gradient and corresponding sequence for the particular image series. So this is the importance of the image registration. This is the starting process of the SRS and the SBRT. If we miss this one for image registration and we are going to treat with the planning CT, which is NCCT, we don't have the sharp definition of the target in NCCT. So this image, you can see the deviation between the distortion corrected and uncorrected MRI images. You can see here the volume of the target is less than 0.1 cc. In that scenario, if the distortion is not corrected properly and the GTV has been drawn in wrongly. So this will be transferred into the planning CT. In planning CT, we are unable to identify whether this area is Gauss disease or not. So we are going to treat that particular area without intending to treat the target. So uncorrected MRI can lead to potential geometric miss. So distortion corrected MRI should be used. So image registration, the general guidelines is to avoid the motion related artifacts and the selection of the appropriate imaging plane. If you want to fuse the axial images, you can choose the axial images. If you are going to do the contouring in axial images, you can validate if you are fusing with the sagittal images. The proper frequency encoding gradient access should be used. That one we previous slide we saw that how much difference is coming from distortion and non-distortion images. And motion degradation of PET is very important because whatever we are going for the thoracic and abdominal malignancies, we are using for the motion management in treatment. But in PET CT, we are not using, if we are not using any kind of motion management, that lead to geometrical miss between target as the normal structures. So in this scenario, we can lead to potential error. So in PET city also we have to use the 4D PET technique or motion management for the PET. So any kind of metal artifacts which lead to the registration errors. So MRI or CT compatible fiducial should be used to avoid the metal artifacts. So the planning MRI, planning PET is the better option because we are using all the simulation devices for planning MRI and planning PET such that we can reduce the deformable error. So the final point, if you are using for the multiple targets, multiple GTVs in the brain or some other, you can use the separate registration for each target so that it will give the high accuracy of the target. But at the same time, we have to verify the normal structures on the planning city, whether normal structures are properly delineated in the planning city or not. So the final point in, if target and radius sensitive critical structures cannot be localized properly, and we should not go for the hypofractionated SBRT. And alternative option is we can go for the increased margin with moderate hypofractionation. So coming to the prescription isodose line. So how to decide the prescription isodose line? For example, our prescription dose to the target is 50 gray, and the target coverage we need a 50 gray. And for 90% isodose line, it means 50 divided by 90%. That means the maximum dose to the plan is 55.56 gray. For example, this is our target, and this is our isodose line. So this plan, the maximum point dose inside the target should be 55.56 for 90% isodose line. And the DBH will be like this. This is the 90% isodose line and the 50 gray prescription. And the target coverage is 50 gray, and you can see the maximum point dose which is going to 55.56 gray. So this is the table which shows if you are going for 50 gray prescription dose with the 90% isodose line to 50% isodose line, the maximum point dose in the plan will be the 55.56 gray to 100 gray. So we have to choose carefully the isodose line according to the clinical decision. So clinician, if you want to increase the dose, then mean dose to the target, then the prescription isodose line to the target will be reduced. Here, the mean dose to the target will increase according to our prescription isodose line. So other point is, if you are going for 90% isodose line, the maximum dose in the plan will be the 111%, and correspondingly 80% it will be the 125% isodose maximum, and in 70% isodose line the maximum is 143%, and correspondingly 50% isodose line will go to the 200% of the maximum point dose inside the plan, inside the target. So you can see the DVH, when we are decreasing the isodose line, the target coverage remains same, but the maximum point dose inside the target is increased, and again the mean dose to the target will increase, and the mean dose to the target will be increased, or we need a moderate mean dose, or we need a very uniform dose in the target. It is depends on the clinical decision. Then according to the hotspot inside the target, it can be chosen. So how to increasing the conformity? In the planning aspects, we are going to discuss about the increasing the conformity. As we know that the prescription isodose line, if you are going to the 90% to the 80%, the red one is the 90% and the blue one is the 80%. When we are decreasing the prescription isodose line, then automatically we can get the steep dose fall off. As the conformity and the homogeneity is inversely proportional, so if you are decreasing the homogeneity, and we can increase the conformity, and we can use the high dose shell, and giving the high dose shell constraints, we can reduce the spillage and we can increase the conformity. This is the high dose pill which we are using in CyberKnife. In the high dose shell, we are giving the maximum dose constraints. We can use the increase the conformity. So the arc length and the beam path. This is the one have abdominal malignancy patients. You can see the arc length which is chosen from almost 200 degree to 70 degree. So in such situation, the low dose spillage is more as well as the conformity is reduced. So using this kind of arc, we can use for this kind of beam arrangements. So in these situations, we can reduce the low dose spillage, sparing the other contralateral areas, as well as we can increase the conformity. Here is the beam path. In SRS or SBRT cases, the less beam from the patient entry surface is needed, so that we can avoid the contralateral beams and we can use the beams which is closer to the target. Again, this is the planning decision. So whether two beams are overlapping with the skin surface area or not. Because if it is overlapping with the skin surface area, then it will lead to the more dose to the skin. So the collimator rotation. So why we need a collimator rotation in SRS and SBRT? The interleaf transmission of the MLC is 1.6 to 1.8% in the 6 MV. So in this situation, the backup jaw is taking from this point. So this is the 1.9 centimeter and 1.3 centimeter from the target. This is area will taken care by the MLC. So this MLC will give us an interleaf transmission of around 2%. If you are rotating the collimator, so we can reduce around 1 mm in each side. So this will reduce our high dose area. So it will increase the conformity. So again, the next point is whether we can use the single isosender or multiple isosender. It depends on the planning criteria. So the single isosender and multiple isosender, again, it will lead the increased treatment time in the machine, because multiple isosender we have to verify by using the multiple CBCTs or multiple imaging technology. So in this situation, we can choose carefully the isosender to increase the conformity. This patient, the axial slices, you can see the 4 metastasis gross disease. So in this case, we can use a single isosender and we can reduce the treatment time, as well as we can increase the conformity. Again, here the two meds, you can use the single isosender, but in this situation, you can see the two distant meds in the brain. So in this situation, if you are using the isosender in between, and if you are using the single isosender, it will lead to the decreased conformity. What will happen if you are able, the beam profile 20 by 20 centimeter field size, it will lead to the more flatness issue and symmetry issue. So whatever we are planning in the TPS, it will change here the distribution. So it is better to use the separate isosender to cover the target, so that we can able to better dosimetric advantage. So impact of collimator width. So we have to use the proper collimator width for particular target volume. So if the target volume is so small, then we cannot go for the 5 mm or 1 centimeter collimators for using the SRS SBRT. So if the volume is less than 2 cc, we have to use the very small collimators or cones. But if the volume is going little 25 cc or 30 cc like that, then we can go for the moderate collimator also. So this is the planning parameter, because if the volume is so less, we have to focus on the particular area, then we got to use the small collimators. So this is the AVM patient, the RTOG conformity index versus the AVM volume. Here you can see the less than 2 cc. This is the comparison of the MLC plan, Dirac based, and the CyberKnife based plan. Here you can understand the conformity is drastically changed from Dirac based plan to the CyberKnife based plan. But if you are going to the increased target volume, then our conformity is almost similar for both the plans. So this is again the low dose pillage and high dose gradient, which is much highly appreciated in the 2.5 mm leaf with the MLCs, comparable to the 5 mm MLC leaves. Here the 5 mm MLC leaf, the transmission, the small low dose in between the target is high, but in 2.5 mm leaf with the low dose will be reduced. Again, the conformity can be increased by using the 2.5 mm. So here on spine metastasis patient, here you can see the planned target coverage can be achieved by using the 5 mm MLC width and 2.5 mm MLC width, but the advantage of using the 2.5 mm MLC is here we can reduce the volumetric dose of the spinal cord. So here it is difficult to achieve. So the target coverage, there is no much different, but normal structure dose, it will be much beneficial when we are using for 2.5 mm MLC leaves width. So how to reduce the low dose pillage? In generally, it is advisable to use the cells to reduce the low dose pillage. So this will give us a high conformity, as well as it will give us the low dose spillage reduction. So the low dose spillage reduction, the second point is we have to use the beam according to our target placement. So where the target is, according to that we have to choose the beams and we can give the high dose shells constraints to the maximum doses, and we can reduce the high dose spillage as well as in the low dose spillage. In Monaco, we can use for the serial constraint in planning system, and in patient structure, we can give the quadratic overdose and the maximum dose to the patient. This will work and it will reduce the maximum dose as well as in the low dose spillage. Here you can see one. This is the with shell and without shell. The 12 gray prescription dose to the target. Prescription dose is 24 gray, and the 12 gray is the spillage. You can see the 12 gray here. And with the shell and without shell, you can see the 10 cc volume of the brain 11.3 gray without shell, and with shell it is 10.22 gray. That means we can get the 1.1 gray advantage. This is the huge difference in SRS plan. In Eclipse, again we can use for the shell structures to reduce the low dose spillage, and we can use for the normal tissue objective. It will automatically take care of the normal structures and it will try to reduce the low dose. And the CyberKnife multi-plan, we can use the maximum MU per beam and the maximum MU per node. This parameter is crucial for multifractionations. If we are increasing the MU per beam, and it will lead to the low dose spillage more. If you are decreasing the MU per beam, then it will lead to the increasing the treatment time. So we have to optimize this maximum MU per beam and maximum MU per node to get the reduced low dose spillage. And this is the constraints which we are giving for 42 gray plan from the 0.8 mm to 3 centimeter to 1/3 of the dose spillage. So how to reduce the maximum point dose to the target? This patient has the bowel and which is surrounded by the target. So you can see the bowel volume is too high. If you are giving the constraints directly to the bowel, it will work as a whole volume and it won't give us a maximum point dose within tolerance limit. So we can create one dummy structures which is closer to the target, and we can give the high dose constraints to this dummy structure, and it will work very high resolution mode, and it will give us a maximum dose to bowel is reduced. In Monaco, we can give the serial dose constraints and the maximum dose constraints, but you have to carefully give the constraints because sometimes this maximum dose constraints reduce the target dose also. In Eclipse, we can give the maximum dose constraints to the dummy structures closer to the target to reduce the maximum point dose. In multiplan, again we can give the maximum dose constraints. And how to reduce the volumetric dose to serial structures? For example, this is the spine target, metastasis target, and here it is the spine which is very closer to the target, and we want to reduce the volumetric dose to the spine. So the maximum dose constraints is taken care of by this area. If you are giving the volumetric constraints to the whole spine, it will try to work out the whole spine and it will reduce the target dose also. So in this scenario, we can create one dummy structures which is a little bit away from the target, and we can give the serial or maximum dose constraints to this structure. It will work very efficiently to reduce the volumetric dose. So the maximum dose constraints will work here for the whole spine, and it will give us the maximum dose constraints. Here it will work as a volumetric constraints. So the volumetrically and maximum point dose is achieved without underdosing the target. So the coming to the grid size effect. So why the grid size is important in SRS and SBRT? We are going to treat the target with 1 cc, 0.5 cc, 0.3 cc. So if you are seeing the 1 mm grid size to 2.5 mm grid size images, in these images you are not able to appreciate the dose difference. But if you are coming to the high dose region, this is the 26 gray, you can see there is a much difference in the 26 gray inside the target from 1 mm grid size to 2.5 mm grid size. So 2.5 mm grid size, what it will happen is it will normalize adjacent area pixels so that we are unable to exactly see the edges dose in the periphery of the target. We have to use the 1 mm grid size to achieve the high accurate dose calculation. So this is the DBH, how it is changing from 1 mm to 2.5 mm. You can see the much difference in the DBH. If you are seeing it will like overlapping, but the 22 gray, if you are seeing, there is a 3% variation from 1 mm to 2.5 mm. So we have to use, as per recommendation, we go to use the 1 mm grid size for SRS and SBRT cases. And the impact of couch and demobilization devices. In normal conventional fractionation, the 2 gray per fraction, the dose to the skin is not a much problem because it is less than the 2 gray. But in hyperfractionation, if you are giving 55 gray in 5 fractions or 45 gray in 3 fractions, the skin dose is very important parameter because it will significantly increase the skin toxicity. And during the plan evaluation, you should evaluate the skin dose. If the skin dose is within tolerance, then you can proceed. And the other thing is that the immobilization devices cause a bolus effect. And whenever we are planning, we have to include the immobilization devices for the particular mission so that it will calculate exact skin dose. If you are missing this one, it will lead to the skin dose error. So in our clinic, we are using the skin structure 3 mm from the patient surface, and we are giving 2 gray per fraction. We are not exceeding 2 gray per fraction. And the other thing is dose calculation algorithms. So this is the pencil beam convolution dose calculation algorithm, and this is the Monte Carlo. You can see the difference. So the GTV and the PTV in lung and abdominal malignancies, it is recommended to use the Monte Carlo calculation instead of pencil beam calculation. In recent times, most of the TPS is changed into the Monte Carlo and Quiroz calculation algorithm or CCC algorithm. So it will nicely take care of the inhomogeneity so that we can able to calculate accurately. If you are using the pencil beam, it will overestimate the target dose, and actually the target is getting less dose. So coming to the plan evaluation. In plan evaluation, first we can discuss about the conformity index. So in this target, you can see this is the prescription dose. For example, if you are giving the prescription dose of the 50 gray, the 50 gray is enveloping the target. Here the target coverage is adequate, but the problem is the poor selectivity because the plan is not good because the spillage is more, high dose spillage. And coming to this plan, you can see the prescription isodose is closely going to the target, but the target is underdosing. In this scenario, this is the excellent selectivity of the plan, but it is a poor target coverage. So
I'll start looking for it.
So here you can see this target volume is denoted as a VT, and here this is the volume receiving prescription isodose, which is going the VD. So target coverage is used, the formula is used is VD intersection VT divided by VT, and the plan selectivity VD intersection VT divided by VD. So coming to the RTOG conformity index, you can see RTOG conformity index is defined as prescription isodose volume divided by target volume. Here you see the volume of receiving prescription dose, which is going outside the target, but target volume is getting less dose. If you are calculating the RTOG conformity index, it will come by plan target coverage and plan selectivity. So usually it is more than 1, but if the coverage is less, then the RTOG conformity index is less than 1. So for example, in this situation, the target volume is 50 cc and the volume of receiving prescription isodose volume also 50 cc. Then the VD equal to VT. Then the RTOG conformity index will show the 1, but it is not suitable for plan selection because the prescription isodose volume which is going outside the target and the target is getting underdosed. So due to this, coming to the one more parameter that is called target volume, which is receiving the prescription dose, that is the TVPIV. So wherever the volume receiving prescription isodose is overlapping with the target volume, then this area is separately calculated. And this scenarios, you can see the PADI has been developed, the PADI conformity index, and the formula is the volume which is receiving prescription dose by the target multiplied by the volume which is receiving the prescription dose by the target divided by volume target volume into volume receiving prescription isodose. So the advantage of this one, if there is any miss in the target or any overdose into the normal structures which is away from the target, it will be taken care by this formula, and we can get the exact plan selectivity for treatment. Usually it should be less than 1. If the CI PADIC index is 1, and it is an ideal plan. For example, if the target volume is the 10 cc and the volume receiving prescription isodose is 11 cc, and if you are calculating the PADI conformity index, it will come around 0.74. So it depends on the volume of the target.